be embarrassed. And who?
All right. So today on Unthinkment Circle, which is the think tank for people who want to think and learn to think and think better than they're normally thinking. And it's to think with a heart. And that's what it's all about. If you want to know more, go to enthinkment.com, ENTHINKMENT.com. So on today's think tank, we're going to turn to Paul Baines, who's been a longtime participant in Thinkment Circle, and he's going to dazzle us and make us jump up and down with enthusiasm and action when he talks to us about his topic for today. Now, his topic today will go in many, many directions because that's who Paul is. So, Paul, take it away. You are on stage. Go.
Thank you. Welcome to everybody, Tom and Joy and Vanessa and Olivia, who is virtually here, I suppose. So I have been working on this for quite some time. There's Olivia. I've been working on this for quite some time. I am unaccustomed to doing this sort of thing. And so being assigned this task has been pretty much of a challenge for me. So I'm here. I want to start with a graphic, which is kind of the starting point, I think I'm going to say, in David Boji's mind and mine. Now let me see if I can bring it up and have you see what I'm. Let's see.
While you're doing that, we're just really proud to have Paul Baines here. He's kind of a linguist, kind of a polymorph, which means he's brilliant in so many different fields. He knows Russian, he knows English. That's two fields. He knows some German. Not sure what other languages, but really good. So, did you find your graphic?
I have found it, and let me see if I can bring it up. There it is. Okay. So for you to see my screen, I have to hit screen. I have to hit share.
You hit share, and inside of share on your right-hand side is another set of buttons, and
Oh, okay.
you'll see an image. And if you press on that button that has an image, we'll see you while you present.
Okay. So it's a okay.
And then there's that share button right under it, and then you're good to go.
Okay.
You
Uh,
all got a share lesson here, so
it's asking me to open. Let's see. I got an icon. Da, da, da.
welcome to technology, Paul. I don't know
Okay.
if we want to share what generation you're in, but Paul and I we're baby boomers. We
No,
weren't born with technology. We were
I'm not a
born.
boomer. I'm a the label for me.
Yeah.
1943 is pre-boomer. I'm a silent generation.
Oh,
Of
you're
course,
the silent generation. Well, how come you're never silent, Paul?
it's a miss. Sometimes the words don't apply too well. Okay, I am. Who can share? Okay. Ah,
Okay.
I think I
The
am.
trick is you pull the screen up first on your computer so you can see it. Then you share and find the screen in that
I think
matrix of all different screens.
the issue again is my own computer, which I thought I had done it. I have. Uh, uh, let
Well,
me let me go back to old fashioned. I'm ready for this.
yeah, just give us a word picture. Oh, there you go. Okay, let me pin it up here on the screen.
I hope
Pin.
this is
Let me put
visible.
you
This
on
is
single speaker. Okay. Yeah, I've remembered that.
okay.
The
Let me
four hearts and that
four hearts.
nautilus in the middle.
Right, the Nautilus, the four hearts, and all of it. This is the jumping off point for me. Okay, it's something that I think you all are vaguely familiar with, if not very much familiar with, and it's the most compact summary of true storytelling in terms of embodied um, rehistoricizing, whatever. And it's all here in I'll call it a nutshell, but it's not a nutshell. And that's part of what I'm here to talk about. Um, uh, I'm going to read. I apologize for that. But if I don't do that, I get in trouble. So I began to prepare for today by asking myself a very simple question, and it had to do with this diagram. That's not quite so obvious. It'll become obvious. My question was, what is language? I then came up with answer after answer after answer to that question. I filled dozens and dozens of quarter sheets, my preferred way of taking notes and working. Um, and some of the answers were not exactly answers. They were rather blurtings. They were words and phrases, sometimes sentences. Having created all these pieces of paper with words on them and thoughts, um, I have been working to arrange them into some form of coherent discourse. Uh, I have had to make them make sense. I have had to find sense in them, or to read, as we say, sense into them. I have managed to do that in a way that's sort of satisfactory, but very incomplete. That question, what is language? I'm making actually part two of my presentation today. Okay. Apologize for the disorder. Uh, as I was working my way through those answers to what is language, another thought came to mind very simply. It was a two-word phrase. Language matters. I thought it would be interesting to pursue uh, the how and the why of language matters. Um, Language matters for me is an implied answer, or it is an answer to an implied question. And that question is language. So what? I answer language matters. It's important. It's powerful. And this is the real essence. Language has the power to create and the power to destroy. Um, and how can I illustrate that? Um, I don't know that that all of you would agree with that, but I absolutely, absolutely, pretty much absolutely believe that. Um, so, uh, what are some illustrations of the power of language? I'm going to use some quotations to illustrate the power of language. First, some quotations, I would have had them up here, but they're very short and should be familiar, I think, to most of you. Uh, Quotations from the Old Testament. Genesis, chapter 1, verse 3. And God said, let there be light. And there was light. Chapter 1, verse 6. And God said, let there be a vault between the waters to separate water from water. Throughout Genesis, the entire book, there is lots of God saying, which is equated again and again and again with creating. Um, God says something, and something comes into existence. Um, Related vein, the power of not just saying, the power of calling and naming. And I simply isolated passages that had those words in it. Chapter 1, verse 5. God called the light day, and the darkness he called night. And there was evening, and there was morning the first day. Uh, Chapter 1, verse 8. God called the vault sky, and there was evening, and there was morning the second day. Chapter 2, verse 19. Now the Lord God had formed out of the ground all the wild animals and all the birds in the sky. He brought them to the man to see what he would name them. And whatever the man called each creature, that was its name. The power of words, the power of blessing and cursing. More word stuff. Chapter 1, verse 28. God blessed them and said to them, be fruitful and increase in number, fill the earth and subdue it. Chapter 2, verse 3. Then God blessed the seventh day and made it holy, because on it he rested from all the work of creating that he had done. That's the blessing. Hey, God says, good for you, good on you. Cursing. Chapter 3, verse 14. So the Lord God said to the serpent, because you have done this, cursed are you above all livestock and all wild animals. You will crawl on your belly and you will eat dust all the days of your life. Chapter 4, verse 11. Now, this is a different curse. Now you are under a curse and driven from the ground. This is about Cain. And now you are under a curse and driven from the ground, which opened its mouth to receive your brother's blood from your hand. One message, one implication that you can take away from a reading of the book of Genesis, I do, is that speaking has consequences. Words make reality. And to kind of draw this up, a quotation from centuries later from the New Testament, which is the beginning of the Gospel of John, chapter 1, verse 1. I'm going to say that. It's a very familiar thing. I'm going to say it in 5 different languages. Well, 6. In the beginning was the Word. The way I heard it as a young boy, day after day after day, Latin. In principio erat verbum. Later on, in German. Im Anfang war das Wort. I'm frozen. Is everybody hearing me? Something. Okay, I am screen freeze, everything freeze. Oh, okay.
You're still communicating. We can hear you every word, so
Okay, my screen was frozen and I no.
doesn't matter. You're still communicating.
Okay. So in German, im Anfang war das Wort. Please correct my pronunciation, Sabine. In Russian, в начале было слово. In French, correct this, Betty, please. Au commencement était la parole. And in
Parfait.
And in Greek, en arche and ho logos. So those 5 languages, or all of those languages, are simply words saying the power of words. The idea that way back in Genesis, centuries before John, somebody had written that, oh, God spoke everything into existence. He said, bloop, 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 and all these things began to exist. And here comes many centuries later, John simply confirming that. So how important is the word? I'm interpreting this now and saying, oh, the word was everything. Well, at least it was in the beginning. In any case, from our own time about the power of words, I do have this one, and I think I can. Oh no, I can't bring it up, and I don't know if I have it printed out. Let me see. It's a picture of Alan Greenspan. Everybody familiar with Alan Greenspan? And no, I did not print it out. Anyhow, I will quote uh, Alan Greenspan, um, a famous quotation. I know you think you understand what you thought I said, but I'm not sure if you realize that what you heard is not what I meant. Gobbledygook, nonsense. Very coherent. It's a sentence that has a subject and not very grammatical, but it's Alan Greenspan. It's from our own time. And this is an illustration of the power of words. Well, maybe not so obvious, not like with all the drama from the Bible. Uh, and I add another one. This is something from my own memory. I tried and tried to find a source for this. I heard it long ago. It's stuck in my mind, and it is simply this, another aphorism. And it has very much to do, in my mind, with all of the events of recent Zooms and Purview. And it is, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words inflict permanent damage. Maybe some of you have heard that. I heard it once or twice long ago, and it stayed with me. And it was somebody, I think it was at a business meeting, who realized, as all of you realize, people get stuck, they get hammered, they get mired down, they get lost because of words spoken to them. Here are two more illustrations from just everyday life. I now pronounce you man and wife. In the courtroom, I hereby sentence you to death. Do words have power? Well, yeah, we all sort of know this, but in what way? I'm simply going through these examples, hoping that the examples speak for themselves. Um, Let me again revert to some language here, and I will translate. And these are just things that got into my head because of my interest in language. Um, from French history, Louis XIV, L'État, c'est moi. And I think he said later on, après moi, le déluge. From Roman history, this is something that I'm familiar with because I had to study it. It was, I'm pretty sure I didn't look this up, was Cato the Elder, way back like 200 BC, would get up again and again in the Roman Senate and say a three-word Latin sentence, Carthago delenda est. We got to get rid of that their city, Carthage. And he would prefix, it was his way of trying to get the Romans to understand if we don't fight some final, terminal battle with these Carthaginians, we're going to be unhappy. And then the other one from Roman history that you all know is Caesar's writings, Veni, Vidi, Vici. So, what is the importance of these words or the significance of these words? It is, they are instances of how language, the power of language, it keeps going through history. In other words said by somebody or written down by somebody, somehow remembered, they resonate through a lot of time. And the marvelous thing about true storytelling, for me, is the rather astonishing realization that the simple act of a human being saying a sentence or two or three is this, it has this enormous power to change, to me, obviously, fairly obviously, the life of the individual who utters the words. But not only that, it goes beyond that in the power of whatever any human being, all of you here on a daily basis, whatever you say, whatever those words are, they are always in the process of changing the world. So, how does this diagram reflect that? What drove me crazy, continues to drive me crazy about this diagram, is trying to grasp it, is because of the contrast between being and becoming. Okay? Those two words, they seem opposed to one another. Being is, well, this is the way things are. That's what there is. We can see it. There it is. Here it is. I can go touch it, see it. All right. And the word becoming, whatever that is, it's about no, whatever you're looking at may look like it's there, but it, no matter how solid and rigid and touchable, it might seem, like a scissors. Uh, it's a it's a thing, and it's there, and it's going to be there forever. Uh, Relatively, the way we work, relatively, it's going to be there tomorrow morning and next week, and as foreseeable future. Uh, but the awareness that our words are are always transforming whatever is going on. Our very statement of it, it's like, oh, the Lord God in 4004 BC, according to the crazy, or in some other much earlier time, God said something and the world came into existence. It's a myth. It's a legend. It's whatever it is. It's a story. It's the creation story. And the creation story is very much about the storying. It got written down and turned into this big fat book, and people carry it around, and it's the most, still, as far as I know, the most published book ever, uh, worldwide, on the whole earth, by cultures that aren't otherwise, related to Western Christianity or Middle Eastern Judaism. So, in a word, language matters. And that's the point that I hope that I have made by going through this stuff. It is more by way of illustration, by using words and quotations to convey that than anything else. And some other things that I didn't officially include from our own civilization. These will all, I believe, be familiar to everyone, and it is their familiarity that, to me, is the point. And I just pulled these out of my mind. Remember the main. When in the course of human events, now is the time for all good men, summer soldier, sunshine patriot, speak softly but carry a big stick.
Loose lips sink ships.
Did you hear my wife? Loose lips sink ships. Give me liberty or give me death. And the combination of an image with words, I didn't prepare it, is you have to visualize. I'm going to say what
You
it
want
is.
me to show it to you?
The world, oh, yes, if you can find it, and it's the World War II poster um, uh, trying to recruit people. Uncle Sam wants you. Oh, oh, that's a much improved version. Wow, wow.
So,
So, Uncle, keep your eyes on this image and just listen to me say, Uncle Sam wants you. Those are words from our history and our past. Okay. Did they, how powerful were those words? I cannot say how powerful they were. There was no trouble in World War II recruiting men to serve in the U.S. Army. But a poster that was prevalent and apparently in many places all over the country was Uncle Sam wants you. And Uncle Sam, the conventional figure of Uncle Sam, uh, was, part of that poster. Um, on a coin, in God we trust. Oh, who cares? What difference does that make? And the flag that was recently popular, I'm going to say, I don't know when, with the Tea Party, was the flag which has on it, "Don't tread on me." I think it's called the Gadsden flag. And it's just words and an image. And I think the image, I can't remember. I'm sorry. I should have all this stuff prepared, but I didn't get it together. But let me summarize again, one more time. Uh, Words are so powerful, and it's very hard for all of us human beings who were born as children learning language. We didn't have a book, the day I was born, and for quite a while thereafter, nobody, sat me down in front of a book. But what was always going on was listening and speaking between parent and child. And before the child is ever born, the baby in the womb hears language. It hears it through the bones of its mother. It's communicated, bodily, because we're fleshy, whatever we are, fleshy. And sound is about physics and energy and something that's real. Uh, and we tend not to think of the sounds around us as being as real as the images we see. You know, it's very helpful to have images and words. And uh, and so when David put this thing together, trying to, Uncle Sam wants you, here's an thinkment. This is something that might be of interest to you or importance to you. Maybe you want to join our group and see where this goes. Uh, and that to me is absolutely a parallel sort of reality to Uncle Sam wants you. At this point, I'm going to be quiet. Oh, one other image of David's was this one. Okay. It's the same image again from, I think it's from the Pondy book, wherever it's from, it's David's creation. But maybe Sabine had a hand in it, I'm not sure. The spiral, the Nautilus shell. But this is one that combines words and shapes and colors and numbers all in one. And what does it say? What does it communicate? Uh, it's language. And that takes me to the second part, which I think I really shouldn't take the time to go into today, and I'm not totally prepared to do it in any case. Does anybody have comments or questions?
well, I think first applause is in order, and thank you very much. And I really appreciate you and all the rest of it. So thank you very much. So my question is the following. There's something in communication called the 738-55 rule, which says that 70% of communication is actual words, 38% is the tone, pitch, rhythm, pacing of the words. And 55% is the body language, facial expression, eye contact, gestures, emotions, and attitude projected in that body language. And so a lot of us are trained in the neuro-linguistic programming, Paul. And I just wondered if you would comment on like words are powerful, and I think you made a good case that words are powerful, and but sometimes words are very confusing.
Right.
But maybe people are using body language is my question. What do you think?
Yes, indeed. One of the things that happened to me after quite a few years teaching was I went to get a master's degree in teaching foreign languages. And that introduced me to a whole domain, the one you are talking about, that I knew nothing of. And that was, I had been exposed to it. And that is body language. There's a fancy language word called kinesics, which is how do people talk with their hands? The Italians, of course. Um, how do people talk with their hands? And all of the features of human communication, which we call language. And language, again, to us seems that's words, books, papers, newspapers, magazines, and so on. It's the written word. We tend to think of language largely because our daily lives are so filled with it. But language is a much broader domain. And that's when you mentioned, what was the 38% intonation? Okay.
The voice.
Okay. So body language dominantly in this schematic, words, numbers, colors, and shapes. Again, and marvelous. So words are actually, according to this schematic, not so important. The voice, oh yeah. And how sensitive we all are to the tone of people's voices. We don't we don't reflect on it because we are always in the act of this. And it is all but impossible. It's like quantum physics. Oh, well, I know where the particle is, but I can't tell how fast it's going. Betty.
Yeah. Whoops. I'm muted. No, I'm not muted. I loved it, Paul. I wish we had had this discussion 2 weeks ago because the conference I went to in Vienna that I've just gotten back from addressed exactly what you're saying. But one huge concept that kept coming up was linguistic hospitality. And that refers to the role of the person receiving the voice, the words, the body language. And they would probably even say that the 7% of words are the two people's words. The 38% is the body language of the two. And the fact that it's hospitality, it means people are willing to receive what you're saying. Those expressions that you and the examples of famous speeches, lines from speeches, actually had an impact because people were ready for those words. You can imagine in another context, outside of World War II or outside of the importance of the person who said it, the midnight ride of Paul Revere. If your culture doesn't resonate with that, those words are kind of funny sounding. So, what I like is you mentioned sensitivity. That's a big part of it. The context, the authority. The real problem that's come up in the past is in meetings, women will sometimes say things and it'll get sort of glossed over. And then later on, one of the more important people in the meeting will say the same thing. And people will go, my God, that's true. So the other half of everything you said is the hospitality we give those words. But I loved it. I loved what you said.
And Tom, go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Paul. That was really interesting. I really loved it. I've done a lot of traveling to different countries around the world, and one of the things that I wish I would have if somebody were to give me a gift was the ability to speak any language in any place I've been, because it's so important to communicate with people. And I had to make speeches in countries where the people were polite and sat there and nodded, looked at the screen, didn't probably understand one word I was talking about. I didn't understand anything they were doing, but they all clapped at the end. But it was so frustrating not to be able to really communicate with them. Second thing is that every day I signed up years ago for like the word of the day. So the word today is excursus.
Ah.
I don't know. What I've come to realize is that my vocabulary must be really slim, because I don't know pretty much 5 days out of 6, I don't know the word. And I think, wow, would that be great to have a great vocabulary? So anyway, really, really thought provoking. Thank you. It was really great.
And let me, I'll get something. The marvelous aspect of this group and this enterprise, I hope I can use that word, activity, is listening. How, if you want to participate in true storytelling, condition number 1 is keep your lips shut. Don't comment. Don't think about what you're going to say in response to the person who's talking. I've spent a lifetime doing that and behaving that way. And it has almost maybe a sort of a deaf person. Well, you jerk, you can't learn anything if you are not listening. Oh, but I read 5,000 books. I have read so many books. Let me give you a list. I actually have a list. But there is nothing like a live human being. And if you're in a room where your language and their language is not the same, and people nod and they're polite. When Betty said linguistic hospitality, what the heck is that? How do people, well, and I'm going to say, how does language convey or exemplify or embody hospitality? It cannot. Language is like our cell phones and all the tools that we have. They're marvelous devices that we use to get through the day. But the most marvelous device invented, and this is a quotation, can't remember the Greek of it, man is the measure of all things. You've surely all heard that. It was some Greek philosopher who said, well, show me a human being and I'll show you the universe. And we might believe that, we might accept that mentally. But it helps to show it when you're with another human being, like every one of you. I'm using the wrong language. Martin Buber would not like it. You are it. The child's game of tag. Ah ha ha, you're it. And the game is to run around until you tag another person and say, now you're it. I have designated you as the what? Victim? No, the leader of the game. You're the one who has to run around and tag somebody else and convey to them that now it's your turn. I'm free. I've had my time in the sun, uh, and so many children's games. Uh, and because I'm in an elementary school, I'm around this again at my advanced age. I'm around all this kids stuff. And I go, all the kids stuff, all I ever really needed to learn? No, all I ever really needed to know, I learned in kindergarten. Highly recommend that book. Uh, there are certain people on the national scene who I would like to give a copy of that too.
Mhm.
Wonderful. I think Sabine had a question.
Yes, I'm
Is that
sorry.
correct? Go ahead.
Thank you. Not a question, but a comment. I would like to tie in with what Betty said, because language happens always in a context. And I think there are, as Betty rightfully pointed out, because there are always hierarchies and power structures, and everything you mentioned, there is God, power, parent, child, power. It depends on who says what to whom and in what context, right? I mean, the same sentence could be said by different people. And if one person says it, oh yeah, oh my God, yeah, oh, if it's, the boss. But if somebody who is not in authority says it, it's like, are you out of your mind? So who says what? But then I also feel that it also matters what isn't said, right? I mean, when you let us say you are in a big meeting, and there are expectations, right? I mean, if you make, and I think again, Betty, I want to tie in with what you said, if you don't greet people, right? You go into a room and nobody greets you. What the heck is that all about, right? I mean, I think what is not said matters as well. Or, you bump into somebody and you knock the grocery bag out of their hands accidentally and you don't apologize. Well, I mean, that's what's not said is an act as well, too, because I mean, there are certain expectations and, norms of living together, that we have. So what is not said can be equally painful. I bump into somebody, knock them over, don't apologize. Well, what the heck is that, right? That, I mean, what's not said is also crucial, I think, and on your anniversary, you don't tell your spouse you love them. It's like, what?
Right on. It's Olivia.
Well, when you were sharing it, it reminded me of if I said to you, Paul or Sabine or anybody, it's like, I totally agree with you. And the actions don't match the words, that it can be funny, or, I'm really happy to see you, something like that.
That's true. I mean, actually, that's a really good way of putting it, I mean, words can, I mean, I think that's a really good point, Olivia. I love that because, I mean, you can say to somebody, I love you, and then treat them badly, right? I
Oh,
mean,
yeah. Oh, yeah.
I mean, I think that is a really good point, Olivia.
All
I mean,
right.
thank you.
Very good. We're going to go to Vanessa next, and then we can have more conversation. Go ahead, Vanessa.
It would just when you were speaking, it reminded me of the love languages. Have you guys heard of that? Right. So there's like all the different love languages, right? So if somebody's, words of affirmation, then hearing I love you, hearing I care about you works for them. But if that's not how they receive love, then like they want you to do acts of, if they're acts of service or quality time, like for me, if somebody's like, I love you, but then they just like literally never show up in my life and never spend time with me, I'm like, do you though? Do you? I feel like,
Vanessa, do you remember the five? You said three of them. Do you remember?
yeah, so it's
Can you
words of
tell us?
affirmation, words of affirmation, acts of service, gifts, like gift giving, so like giving and receiving gifts. Yeah, I can do a presentation on love languages.
please.
What are the other ones? No,
We have a schedule and you can join it.
yeah. Although I feel like, I mean, I feel like I would love to do a presentation, and I feel like I could do something bigger that also includes love languages. So I have to, like, I'm just gonna look them up because I can't remember them off the top of my head.
I was
Well,
trying to find the book on the shelf. I read it. It helped
Well,
me.
just commercial, I mean,
Yeah.
next week is Sabine and the following week is Olivia. And after that, we have an open spot for Vanessa.
Cool. Yeah, I'll do it. And then, I mean, I just have to confirm my schedule, but it should be fine. It's interesting because I do feel like what's interesting about the love languages is that they, as people have been, become aware of them, it's like they've kind of expanded on. Like I'll joke, like memes are my love language. Like send me a meme that's like makes me laugh, right? And then I'm like happy. So quality time, gift giving, acts of service, words of affirmation, and physical touch. So those are kind of like the main ones that this book at least talks about. And
it talks about why if you're a person who shows affection by touching, oh, you get in trouble because a lot of the time that is exactly not what you're going to do, or with that person.
Right. I mean, like with physical touch, you always want consent, and it also plays into the NLP structure of some modalities, like how you prefer to learn, right? So for me, I'm a primary kinesthetic person, so like I often communicate physically before I even have words, and like my partner would be like, why did you push me out of the way? And I'm like, because I couldn't, like, the words "that's gonna burn you" weren't coming out. It's like me wanting to physically move you so you don't burn yourself is like primary for me, right? If my primary thing was words of affirmation, it falls under primary vocal, right? So if I'm primary vocal, then I'm probably more into words of affirmation. But you can also have all of them. Like you could be all of these things. You could have all of these love languages. But it's really powerful in relating, right? Is if like, especially if you have an intimate partner, a marriage or a boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever, if you know yours and you know theirs. So if yours is gift giving, but theirs isn't, and they know yours is gift giving, but you know theirs isn't, they know that if they want to show you that they love you, they're going to give you a gift, even if it's not theirs, right? Because they love you and they want to know. And if you know that their love language is acts of service, then you say like, hey, how can I serve you? Like, what can I do for you today? Like, do you want me to take you somewhere, do the trash, take out the trash, do the dishes, whatever it is, right? And they'll be like, oh my God, he really loves me because he did the dishes, right? You're like, I don't want flowers. I want you to do the dishes, right? Or stuff like that.
The song "You Don't Bring Me Flowers Anymore." How many the songs are filled with all of this philosophy in a nutshell, and sometimes very more powerfully communicated because of the music of it or whatever. But Vanessa, by all means, it would be wonderful to hear you, especially because you're you, to talk about this and
Yeah, I would love to.
and to put yourself in the story. I am, and I'm a person who acts of service. That's how I show my affection. What can I do for you? That's the thought going over my head. And for some people, it's like,
right. And like
doesn't.
if you have a partner that knows that, then and they might not be a person of active service, but then they know that about you, or even a coworker or anybody in your life, they know that is the way that you are. Then they know, oh, even though it's not their love language, they see you doing that. They're like, oh, that's him showing love. Right. And that's beautiful. So then it goes just further in communicating, being able to communicate with each other to let each other know this is how I know that you love me. This is how I show love. How do you receive love? How do you show love?
And it's not easy, that if language is communication, it's a sticky wicket. It's a thorny bush, Flowers, I mean, roses are wonderful. I remember when I was a little kid, we had a row of roses in the backyard. And when I was little, really little, I would go out and, oh, I want to grab it so I can smell it.
All right. Sabine has another question for the man from the silent generation.
I don't have a question, but I have a comment. I think at the bottom of all of this, though, is I'm gonna go to a concept that David loves, and that comes from Heidegger, and that is care, right? These are all ways of showing that one cares. And that's really at the bottom of all of it, and but I loved what you said about the love languages, that is beautiful, Vanessa. Yeah, that everybody has their own.
Yeah. And you going to a concert with somebody that wants, that's you showing them quality time, because to them, quality time, you're like, I don't want to go to this concert, but I know that they want to go and I want to spend time with them. So it's like you get to experience quality time with them. And,
Exactly.
yeah.
Beautiful.
Wonderful,
Thank you.
wonderful. Well, I'm going to turn to Ken Long, because Ken Long is doing postdoc in true storytelling. And that chart that you showed, Paul, we don't teach that anymore except in the super advanced courses. And then even then, they've gone back to not teaching that chart. To keep it simple, it's now just the 7 principles, but I'll defer to Ken Long. I was trying to, in the chart with the hearts, get my work on anti-narrative, which none of you have ever heard of, most of you anyway, ANTE, which is the before, the antecedent aspects of communication. And so the history context of the before matters, and the being context and space and time matters, and the becoming of emergence matters. Although we've had arguments in Thinkment before that there's no becoming, there's only being, or was it the opposite? It was only being, there's only becoming and there's no such thing as being, David. I'm going like, well, you just shut out all the existentialists from Sartre to Heidegger to Camus to some of the amazing people. Anyway, so that chart has a lot of meaning, and I appreciate you bringing it up, Paul, but I want to hear from Ken Long.
Give Ken the microphone, please.
If he's available to talk. Sometimes he's not allowed to talk, so.
Yeah, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you. Go for it.
Okay, yeah. I'm always reluctant to affirm what there isn't in the world. Right after somebody else says they're pretty sure that it is in the world. So becoming, it's the same thing. You know, I think of the three-dimensional bowl of our stories. The surface that you can see, the words are, you offer those words and they're floating on that surface. They have a certain, liveliness to them. And all the water in the bowl, the depth of it, the underneath of things that are providing the context that hold the words up, just as important as the little crackers floating around in the soup. And the bowl itself that's holding it, all that story in the context. And then there's the bowl that's holding it, the unspoken bowl. And then there's your hands holding the bowl connected to you. And you're standing on turtles, and it's turtles all the way down. So, there is a continuum of communication that the words are a part of it, not all of it. And the story is throughout all of it, it seems to me. And so I enjoyed listening to Paul's work and the space between the words, and filled with love. And I'm grateful to be here with you guys. Good to see you all.
Good to see you, Ken. I liked your drawing behind you. Yeah, I've been reading, there's the Book of Goddesses I'm reading, because my daughter was at the sessions on Monday last 2 weeks, and she's into the goddesses. And the last word on that heart chart was about beyond. And for me, that's the spiritual, whatever your spiritual thing is. And today, Paul was going through the Bible, and that's cool. I've gone through the Bible. I used to teach Bible study, by the way, for the men's group and stuff, but essentially gone into the Jainism. And my daughter's into goddesses, and only trains women and works with women only. And but I'm reading it because in the Reiki program, and I sent a thing to Vanessa today, that there's some writing in the Reiki that it's a goddess kind of symbol. And it's interesting. that it started in, I believe, India. And a lot of people only go to Japan as the origins for the Reiki. And I just mentioned that because I have some Reiki masters attending. And but it's interesting to pull out all of the I really turned to the goddesses in the beyond. And when I was working with the Europeans, they're going, we don't want anything spiritual in this. This is about business. What the hell are you doing? And I'm going, oh, I'm trying to get with my actual beliefs and feelings about things. And but I've noticed that one of the things I like about this group is we do talk about spiritual things from time to time. And I went through a period of my life where I wasn't willing to accept the God things anymore. And I went to deeper history and said, well, maybe it was goddesses. And in the Jain Indian tradition, we don't actually believe in either one, gods or goddesses. We believe in an inner divinity. So that's how screwed up I am. So Vanessa, I was just talking about what I sent you earlier and you missed it. So another time.
I heard it. I was just like 3 feet away. I just had to.
Well, I'd enjoy your reaction.
Yeah, I mean, just off the top of my head, I feel like it's my view on all of that is like everybody, whether you're a scientist of various degrees or a different religion of various degrees, from my perspective, everybody's reaching for the same thing. And it's that peace, that joy within, right? And so like I think, yeah, the goddess and goddesses that are within, right? The goddess within you, the God within you, the God within all of us, right? The consciousness of this honey, the consciousness of this cup, whatever it is, right? And the fact that there's a book called The Source Field Investigations by David Wilcox that I recommend, and he talks about how things are invented simultaneously at the same, like across the world. Because from my perspective, what that means is that like the consciousness wants to be realized. So it's like these ideas are coming in through different vessels, different points of God realizing itself on earth right now, and heaven on earth that is, from my perspective, our reality, right? And there's different degrees of heaven and hell on earth, in my opinion, right? And depending on what we choose, what we decide to live for and focus on, right? And that goes back to languaging too, is that our language creates our reality. It's a spell. What we say, what we're listening to. That's why stories and music and movies and all these things are so powerful, is because they actually they go past the critical wedge of the mind that separates the unconscious from the conscious. And so by reprogramming your own story, you get to rewrite your unconscious mind, because you're creating that, you're removing that critical wedge and allowing the language to penetrate. That's why when you be careful about what you listen to, what you watch, what you sing, because you're programming your mind, and so there's so many ways to talk about all of this, and it's my favorite thing to talk about.
But
Thank you
even
for your answer.
without
Go ahead,
words,
Sabine. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I just jumped in here. I apologize.
Oh, you're good.
No, because
Doing
I think,
wonderfully.
I apologize for that, but I think I love what you said, Vanessa, and but I also I think a lot of this, right, can happen without words, right? Like an instrument, like a single flute playing, right? What that can do to us, or birds chirping, the peacefulness, right? To listen to that. So we don't necessarily need the words. I'm thinking also, just the sounds of the of nature, like leaves rustling, or the wind blowing, rain coming down. I have a sound machine that you can put all those different sound options on, right? And what does it have? Wind, rain, things like that. And so, I mean, we respond to just sounds alone. Just, I think, I'm into art, the visual arts, and just like color too, we respond on a deep level to just sounds and colors, even without anything that's physically recognizable necessarily.
Yeah, I agree, because in at the end of the day, it's all consciousness from my perspective, right? And so it is in a way communicating with you, right? The color is communicating through visual spectrum, through sound is communicating through an auditory spectrum. It's all vibration at different levels, reaching us in different ways through our different ways of processing, with our eyes and our ears and our touch and our feeling and our psychic abilities and all these different things. So like I totally agree with you. And it's all, again, it's a communication. It's the simplest way I could say it is like it's just God realizing itself, right? It's some essence of God, of spirit communicating through you in a way that resonates with you, right? Getting you more connected with that divine source within you by bringing you colors and sounds and experiences that resonate with your deep truth, that bring you ultimate joy, because I think the ultimate point of existence is to experience joy, right? And so if you experience joy in that way, then like go that way. And I want to just read my like notes that I wrote after here listening to everybody. Was one thing that came through was like, be a master of energy and your words will be more powerful. Elicit clarity and penetrate the listener on an unconscious level and a soul level. Do you ever just hear something and feel a paradigm shift? There are Easter eggs throughout for anyone who wants them, and what is for you will stand out for you.
Wow.
It's poetic. We love it. Poetry, that's the whole thing, right?
Tumbles out of your wow.
Thank you for
Nice
hearing
when
me.
my daughter becomes my teacher.
Hey, my daughter's my teacher too. So what are you going to do?
And I have a
Great,
son.
I get to relax.
Yeah, you don't have to be the parent. What was that thing of all those years ago about parent? And I'm okay, you're okay. Remember that?
Yeah, Mr. Harris or Dr. Harris. Yeah, I'm okay.
You
You're
knew him,
okay.
right?
Well, my dad read the book, and after that, I got my first hug when I was 22 years old.
Are you
So,
serious?
yeah, I'm a big fan of Dr. Harris. Yeah.
So your father was affected by something he read,
Well, he went to a therapist.
but he
But
did go to the therapist,
he
as
did go, yeah, and it did make a
opposed
change.
to there's nothing wrong with me. I don't need to see anybody.
That was the earlier dad. That was the dad I grew up with. Yeah.
That guy.
But he was really a fan of Harris's I'm okay, you're okay, we're okay together.
His-
Instead of saying I'm okay, you're not okay, it's I'm okay and you're okay,
And he would speak in a language that was so simple. That book was popular because it didn't have psychological gobbledygook. It didn't have Rogers
Hey, it
and
made sense to my dad,
it made
and his second wife, Yeah. And she was British and she wasn't that much of a hugger. Now, the third wife, she was a big hugger and I really liked her, So, anyway, you know what happens to an animal if you don't touch them? They go crazy. Same for a human.
I'd love to share a story. So, my parents died young. I think my mother hugged me, but after that, I didn't get hugged much. And I went away to college. I didn't date much either, low self-esteem, all that stuff. So when I got to college, one of my floor mates gave me a hug when she left for spring break or whatever. And I went, wow, this feels really good. I want more of this, right? So I made this decision in my head. I'm going to become somebody that hugs. Well, I didn't have any perception, right? So I was hugging people when they didn't want to be hugged. It's like, so it was terrible. It was really funny though. I'd love to be able to witness myself because I have some funny memories. So then I started learning, okay, ask for permission, or if it's obvious, but I couldn't touch my intuition at all back then. So it was just funny.
I worked at universities where you weren't allowed to hug. You weren't allowed to touch the student. And if you touch a student in any way, you were written up as a policy violation and a morals clause at that university. And it's because of the insurance companies. And then there are other universities you could hug. Let's see. Yeah, it was kind of interesting. And you also couldn't have an office without a window in the door. this. It was at Loyola Marymount University, so I might as well tell you. So it was interesting. And I remember an older faculty member who didn't follow the rules hugged a student. And oh my God, you would think that he was going to be tarred and feathered and sent out the door. He was just, I witnessed the hug. It was just like, hi, you're a really good student. And that was enough to get him written up. But other universities, they don't really care. Funny thing about Loyola Marymount Jesuit University, you could have beer blast and big kegs of beer. Just don't pass out condoms and don't hug.
Mhm.
I thought that was funny. Yeah.
Well, you've probably seen the videos where the grade school teacher gives the kids a choice on the, like when they come into the room, there's three things on the wall and the kid gets to choose. Do they want a hug? Do they want a high five? Or do they want to shake hands or something like that? And so these little kids, like a lot of them want a hug, but at least it's the child's choice. I think that's what your university should do.
Yeah.
Well, there's multiplicity. The great thing about this room full of diverse persons is we're all different. And I treasure the fact that we're all different. And the other thing is what, was it Vanessa or you, Olivia, said, sensitivity. Sabine, it's sensitivity is something, some people seem to be born with it, and other people aren't. Autistic people, that one of the things that I've had to understand because of an autistic son that was part of our social group for quite a while. And he was a very challenging young man. He would be, much of the time he was, quote, normal. I hate to say that. But there are times when he would, manifest the difficulties of an autistic person, not being sensitive to the context. What Sabine said, we're always in a context all the time. And Vanessa said the context is basically from here to Andromeda and beyond. We're in that. And it's like in us, even though it's 900,000 light years away. The quantum reality is it's real. It's completely crazy.
Hi, Sabine. I'm going to show this illustration and then invite you. So I want to just bring that up. Okay, there's the sign that Olivia said. Believe me, Olivia, when I tell you this was not a sign in my schools growing up. It was where's your homework? Here's the dunce cap. Put your nose on the chalkboard for talking. Those were the three choices. But anyway, go ahead, Sabina.
Oh, I love the little hugging bears. I'm sorry. Oh, they're so cute.
Mhm.
We're one of them.
I,
Yeah, go ahead, please. Please,
Thank you.
Sabine.
Well, I think there's another point, it just made me think, of the chart, of the before, right? There's always a before also, like in a relationship, right? There's also a before. What preceded it? What is the history of the relationship? And I think that also influences how we perceive and receive something, right? I mean, if the history, say, if there's a history of, oh yeah, I'm gonna do this and that, and then the person doesn't follow through, right? I mean, you're gonna receive that entirely differently. So, I mean, that's what made, I was just thinking of that chart, but every word and every dialogue, there is a before, and that influences what follows and how it is received as well. So context is larger than, okay, I'm in this room with these and these people. There's also a context that goes back. Oh,
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
we study the Heideggerian being in Thinkman often, and Sabine is well studied. Betty, go ahead.
Okay, I was looking for my little raise hand symbol, couldn't find it. Um, just following up on Sabine, not only is the context often driving what happens next, I'm listening to you very intently now because in the European context that I'm in, I'm okay, you're okay comes across in a very different way. People don't show their emotions that easily, especially on the street or in public, whatever. And one of the intercultural things I've taught my French students before going to the States is to be mindful of I'm okay, you're okay. We want people to smile as we cross their path. We want to know that they're okay with us. And sometimes I even say, don't think that the smile that you find useless is void of any meaning. You're actually saying to that person, I hope that in this moment that you and I share, there you're doing fine and that you're okay with my doing fine. And they look at me kind of blankly and I say, don't you think that here in France you could use that kind of they usually say, well, we like it that you smile a lot, you're so cheerful, whatever. And how do you transmit to somebody where you're coming from when that's not their context? And I warn all of you, if you're ever with French people, our way of smiling can leave them baffled sometimes. They think, hey, do we know each other or what's the deal here? And then now that United States kind of irritates them, they'll even say, "Oh, those Americans, they think they own the world." But anyway, I'm okay. You're okay. It's very needed over here in a
Yeah.
different way,
Oh,
and I
that's
love hearing you.
Yeah, thank you. I put the I'm okay, you're okay book in the chat, at least the cover. Now, the thing with go to Greece, though, Betty, and what
Mm,
happens? You're expected to say hello, good morning, how are you? You know, three
yeah,
times a day,
yeah,
where the Americans go like, what? Why are you asking me that? But let's
yes.
go to Olivia.
Well, I hope it's okay, and I might embarrass Vanessa, but one of her love languages is giving gift cards, and so this is what she made me for Mother's Day. It's all
Oh,
it's all hand cut, and so that's the front, all different little pieces of paper, and on the back it says gift cards, all just freelance cutting these, and then inside. And this is what they used to give me as kids when they were kids, like a coupon for a hug or doing the dishes or whatever. But anyway, so she made 3 Reiki cards for 1 hour apiece.
wow.
She just cuts these freehand. Oops, that one's upside down. Yeah. So
Mhm.
anyway, I just wanted to show you because she's multi-talented.
That's beautiful, very beautiful.
Yeah,
When they
bravo.
run out, she's not going to take them, so I'll have them for.
Mm,
Okay, if it's okay, I'm going to wrap up the audio portion and then, or the record, and then we can talk a little bit more. So let
Yeah.
me do that. Thank you. This has been a Thinkment Circle at enthinkment.com. And we've also had guests here from Purview, PERVIEW.org. You can go to either one of those websites and find out about our meetings and our activities. But basically, we devoted to the life and times of Louis Ralph Pondy, who had a heart and he expressed it at a time when people didn't in his academy. And we are also very, very grateful to him because he encouraged, at least I am, because he encouraged me in storytelling, and I appreciate him forever. So I'm going to say thank you very much to everybody, and I'm going to find the button that says that we are going to stop the recording. And thank you very much. And if you go to perview.org/one, you can get a free download book on how to treat your millennials. Okay, bye.